Hey guys, Inkling here. Mega Man 11 was easily one of my favourite games of the last year, and one of my favourites in the classic series. The bosses in this game are among some of the best in the series, and on superhero mode, they can be absolute agony. They are mainly ranked in how much damage I took to beat them, and how hard it was to actually damage them. I'm also only basing this off Buster only, with no power-ups to keep things fair, and I am looking at these fights assuming you've cleared normal mode, that you already knew their attacks. So with that said, let's go! Tundra Man is one of my favourite ice-based throwing masters out there, though whilst this fight is fun, even on superhero mode, it's really easy. For most of the fight, Tundra Man will ice skate around the arena, varying from just going across the ground, or attempting to catch you out with his jumps, but that's really all he does outside of his speed gear phase, and whilst he is immune from the Buster if he's spinning fast enough, you can easily get in a charge shot once he's done moving from one side of the room to the other. When he's low on health, he'll activate his speed gear, which will cause him to skate at high speed across the arena 3 times, before activating his Tundra Storm in the centre. However, staying on the opposite side to him from where he started his speed gear means you'd only need to jump over him twice, and that Tundra Storm can't even reach you, and he's wide open during his speed skating phase as well. A fun fight, but really easy to deal with, which is why I always go for Tundra Man early. That and his weapon fucks everything over. Now this honestly surprised me. I actually thought Impact Man was one of the hardest to fight on normal mode, but when I first fought him in superhero mode, I beat him with only taking 1 scratch, and he hasn't given me much trouble since. His 2 most frequent attacks are ramming at you, which you can jump over, and attempting to land on you, which causes earthquakes, so be wary of that. He can also turn into a spike wheel and plant spikes across the arena, but you can easily see where he's going to place them in the ground by looking at the ground, and that Buster of yours can easily destroy them, and that ground also applies when he uses his power gear to turn into a giant jackhammer, or summon other power drives that you need to avoid before he'll try and crush you with his giant spikes, and every time he draws a spike into the ground, he'll cause another earthquake that you need to jump over, or you'll be at risk of being crushed. But like the spike wheel, he'll always go for the same 3 places, meaning he's predictable where he'll go, and you have enough time to get out of the way even without speed gear. Even on Buster only, this fight on superhero mode has just never given me any trouble. In fact, I think it's easier with the Buster because of the delay of putting up the acid barrier. Now I think you knew this guy was going to be low. About 90% of this fight is him just bouncing around, occasionally punching at you and trying to drop on your head. His punches come out super quick, but that's really the only threat he has. His bouncing is easy to deal with, he can easily be rebounded with a charge shot, and his attempts to squash you are so slow that you can easily get out of the way even without speed gear. And speaking of speed gear, all he does is bounce around the arena, which is easy to avoid with well-timed speed gear uses, and you can roughly work out where he's going to bounce to anyway. One thing that is worth mentioning is how he breaks apart if you use the double charge shot, because then you'll have to deal with 6 balls flying across the arena. In other words, you get an actual challenge. And that's the problem with this guy. There's just no challenge with him outside of his super fast punches. Even when he grabs the ground on those punches, a well-timed charge shot can easily send him in the other direction. This guy was honestly just a waste of a slot in my opinion. And now for the first robot master I faced in this game. Acid Man was really easier to deal with in normal mode, and in superhero mode, he's still one of the easiest, though he is a noticeable increase in difficulty from the last view. He'll start out with putting up his acid barrier, which is actually really smart of him, and spray acid across the arena, but you can easily destroy most of that shield in one use of the speed gear. Once his shield's popped, he'll jump towards your location and fire more acid shots that'll home in on you a couple of times, which can actually be tricky to avoid. After that, he'll activate his speed gear and make a massive tidal wave that's easy to jump over, but as soon as you've done that, he'll jump out and spray acid across the arena. I always jump the tidal wave and then slide twice, followed by a jump in the direction to the opposite he made the tidal wave to evade it. After 4 uses of his speed gear attacks, he'll put back up his shield, and the fight will loop over again. Like Tundra Man, this is a guy I often go for early, because he just doesn't give me any trouble, but this is the first fight on here that I've needed an energy tank to get through it. Gear Fortress 2 is one of my favourite wide levels in the series because of the school roller sections and the pretty interesting boss at the end, which in my opinion is the easiest boss in the Gear Fortress. He starts out the fight travelling in a square pattern clockwise, firing a single shot at you every now and then, but you won't be able to damage him until you shoot him enough to break open his shell. Once you do that, he'll travel in the opposite direction, firing multiple lasers at you in all directions. However, after a short while, he'll close back up and he'll repeat his first attack. That'll continue to loop until he activates his power gear, where he'll warp somewhere and fire 3 massive lasers at you. However, they're easily telegraphed and easy to avoid, and he's wide open to fire at whilst he's firing at you. After 3 uses of that, he'll use his final attack where he'll send a load of orbs after you that will home in on you and can be easily destroyed with a charged shot. To be honest, because of how easy his second phase is to deal with, you'll most likely have this phase over before it even starts. None of his attacks are anything hard to deal with. Honestly, trying to aim your shots in between his shell when it's cracked open is probably the hardest part of this boss. Torchman was a pretty interesting idea for a fire-based robot master. Being a camp safety advisor, really, with those flames on his shoulders? What idiot thought that was okay? Anyway, and in his spare time, works on his martial arts, or torch jitsu, and it shows during his fight. He can form two different kinds of kicks, one where he dive kicks at you, which reminds me a lot of Slash Man's pounce, and the other one being a roundhouse kick. Both kicks come out quick, do considerable amounts of damage, and will send you flying, so you'll need to keep your reflexes in gear, or else you'll need another gear, especially on those roundhouse kicks. He'll also shoot fire fists your way that are not only quick, but block your shots, so you'll have to quickly jump over or slide under them depending on their altitude. Once his health's been depleted, he'll activate his power gear, of which will jump from the opposite side of the arena 3 times to fire a fire wheel that requires a well-timed jump to make it over, followed by crashing down in a massive flame blast. However, that flame blast isn't much of an issue to avoid even without the speed gear. But outside of the power gear phase, all of his attacks come out really fast and do quite a bit of damage, making him one of my harder robot master fights in the game. Not as torturous as his stage though. Fuse Man is now my favourite electric-based robot master in the series. One of the reasons why is for its fun and hectic fight, which on superhero mode is freaking insane. Fuse Man will start the battle by creating 4 electric orbs that circle around the arena, before zipping to a random location in the arena, which happens to include areas your buster can't reach, and fire 2 lightning bolts that home in on you. With so much electricity everywhere, it's almost impossible not to take a hit. So have fun trying to dodge everything until he activates his speed gear. Don't worry about his speed gear, by the way. It's the easiest part of the fight. Just keep sliding and avoid sliding into the walls and you'll be fine. You can easily get in a charge shot with your own speed gear as well. After he strikes down 5 times with his speed gear, he'll change the path of his electric orb and continue to fire electric bolts at you. The speed gear phase is what kept him from ranking any higher, because of the rest of the fight, you're going to be having to pay attention to like 6 things at once during the battle. This guy was easily one of the hardest fights in normal mode, and in superhero mode, he's still one of the hardest. He'll start off firing a load of bombs with insane coverage over the arena that explode on contact. However, after literally only a couple of bomb rays, he'll activate his power gear, which grows the size of the bombs and their explosions tremendously, though fewer bombs are fired. After a couple more bomb raids, he'll also send out his chain blast, which will slowly home in on you if you get too close before exploding. Meanwhile, he'll be shooting a bomb directly at you. He may only have 2 attacks, but both of them have insane range, insane coverage of the arena, and do insane damage, so you'll need to quickly work out where his bombs are going to explode and evade those areas accordingly. A fun fight, but definitely one that'll blow you up if you're not careful. One of the more recurring bosses is the Yellow Devil, and whilst this isn't the hardest version of him out there, well unless you're a cheater, he's still got the challenge he's known for. He doesn't even start the fight on screen, as he'll use his infamous split attack to travel from one side of the arena to the other. He always uses the same pattern, but it requires an insane amount of memorization and reaction speed to evade it, after which he'll open up his eye to fire a single shot at you, which is easy to avoid, but that's his weak point, and it's not open for very long, before redoing his split attack. However, now you have even less time to react, as he's on the screen when he starts the attack. After enough hits, he'll activate his speed gear, which will split him into 9 smaller versions of himself. He'll start out jumping from one side of the arena to the other, before quickly dashing back to the other side. Your best bet is to go underneath during his first jump, as by the time the first ones are dashing at you, the last of the jumpers won't be above your head. The last one will always be open to shots as well, so you have a good chance to get in some damage there. After that, he'll try and drop all those smaller versions of himself onto you, and the only safe spot is at the side of the arena to where the first mini devil comes down. But again, you can easily get a shot in, because the one you can hit is always the one closest to the safe side. After that, he'll repeat his split cycles, I'll fire a load of shots at you. His split attack is the main thread, as like I already said, it requires a lot of memorization and ridiculous reaction times. Although if you get hit once, you can use the invisibility frames to go behind where his blobs are coming from, so you will be safe for at least the rest of that split attack, which these last 2 bosses had a safe spot. Every classic game always ends with that Wily boss, and even on normal mode, it's one of the hardest. Like most Wily bosses, it has multiple phases. Its first phase mainly focuses on missiles. They'll either be fired right at you, or they'll try to drop on your head. To damage this machine, you need to hit its red eye, but that may require a jump on top of the missiles, which is very tricky to do without speed gear, as the speed they're going at makes them near impossible to jump on. He'll also occasionally try to ram right into you, which you'll need to slide under to avoid getting hit. After he loses about half of his health, he'll bring down some gears that'll activate the conveyor in the direction towards him. You'll want to shoot at those gears, however, as it'll bring his machine down to jumping height. However, those missiles and those shots with his signature W will be constantly flying in, and all that's just phase 1. Phase 2 is his signature capsule, and he'll be able to move around the arena whilst constantly firing gears that home in on you that can be destroyed with a charged buster shot and use both speed gear and power gear. During his speed gear phase, he'll be zipping around the arena and constantly changing direction whilst firing gears that home in on you that are very hard to dodge. However, his power gear phase is easy to deal with. He'll summon 2 stacks of gears that will rotate around him and block your shots. However, he moves very slowly, and the stacks of gears move in a predictable predictable pattern, meaning it's easy to slide through an opening and get a shot in. But when he's down to next to nothing, he'll activate his double gear, which means he'll be zipping around the arena from all angles and directions, with those stacks of gears beside him. However, you can easily land shots of him with speed gear when he's moving vertically downwards, and once you eliminate all of his health then, you've beaten superhero mode. The hardest parts of this fight are trying to jump on the missiles in the first phase, and his speed gear attack in the second phase, but they're nothing compared to who you've worked out is number 1 by process of elimination. It honestly surprises me how many playthroughs I've seen where this guy is their first pick, as he has a total of 3 phases, though to be honest, only the second one is hell. You'll see why. His first phase is really easy to deal with. He'll just run around the arena at first, but when you shoot, he'll jump to your location and drop a load of bricks on you, which is tricky to maneuver through without speed gear. However, the blocks come down really slowly, so you can easily position the blocks to be able to just slide out of the way of the whole lot. When he gets down to about a third of his health, he'll activate his power gear to become trailer material, a giant rock golem, which on superhero mode can seriously screw off. His attacks involve an extremely annoying punch, slamming his hand to the ground, and scraping the ground to cause debris to fly out. The debris is tricky to dodge, but not too damaging, but his punches can wipe out half your health, so if that happens, you'll need to use an energy tank or you're going to die on the next hit. And considering he can corner you rather easily, that's very likely. And it's not like you can just hit him in any location. If you can see this guy, you know where you have to hit him. Double charge shots can help, but you'll lose it if you get hit, and the actual spot is hard to aim at, so good luck. After that nightmare, he'll do his last phase, where he'll jump over to one side of the arena and fire blocks you can easily jump over or destroy with a charge shot. After he chucks 3 sets, he'll jump over to the other side, which actually makes this part easier than normal difficulty, as he doesn't fire more blocks until he's landed, meaning he's wide open to a shot. It's the second phase why he's at number 1, because it has another health bar, and his attacks are stupidly powerful and agonizing to avoid. Every other boss I can get through needing only 1 or 2 energy tanks. This golem phase alone burns through like 5. Seriously, screw the golem on superhero mode.